Hey YouTube, I just want to go over my experience and my deck list and what I played for the North American World Championship qualifier. Let me go through my deck list first, then I'll kind of talk about my decisions and stuff. So I played 3 Likers, 3 Candina, 1 Lilybell, and then just 6 hand traps, or 6 monster hand traps in the main deck. It's 3 Droll and 3 Ash. For my spells, I played 3 Engage, 3 Chain Summoning, 2 Called by the Grave, 1 Afterburner, 3 Drones, 3 Terraforming, 1 Upstart, 1 Desires, 3 Goat, 3 Light Stage, and then for my traps, I played 3 Impermanence and 2 Reincarnation. For my extra deck, it goes Link Karibo, double Kagiri, 1 Shizuku, 1 Firewall, 1 Link Spider, 1 Insulator, 1 Borreload, 1 Bomber, 1 Skull Dread, 1 Cerberus, 1 Trisbania, 1 Unicorn, 1 Goblin, 1 Phoenix. For my side deck, it is double Cherries, triple Twin Twister, double Ghost Ogre, double Effect Veiler, triple Deflector, and double Shared Ride, and 1 Metal Foes Electromite, but I gave that back. I was borrowing it. So the reason why I made some of the choices I did was, first off, at YCS New Jersey's when I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Like very fully again. I mean, I always watch and play Yu-Gi-Oh! And all, but I just like when I kind of like started practicing again. And I played Altergeist because that was just the easiest deck to play at the time, and how I knew how to play it. And I did really poorly there. And then also I realized that the deck can't play or finish like 3 full games in 40 minutes. And if sometimes you can't punish your opponent for playing poorly either when you draw like 5 traps and you have to pass. So I did really poorly there. I think it went like 3-4, some 3-3 or something like that. At ARG Atlantic City, a week before Nationals, I played a very similar deck to this, but I mained Shared Ride, and I mained Horned Widow Anchor, and I did not main Infinite Impermanence. I also mained Gamma. The deck seemed to do really well. I mean, all I wanted to do was find a consistent deck that I could play every turn, and if I lose, I can kind of blame it on the deck drawing poorly, and then if the deck just doesn't draw poorly, it's my fault for not knowing how to play. Kind of like regular Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is what really I asked for in this deck. The deck seemed to do okay. I did not too great either. I went 5-3. I lost the last round. But even though I won and went 6-2, I don't think my tiebreakers were good enough to get top cut anyway. But the deck was good enough for me to want to play for Nationals. What I did find though was a lot of people in my local area, as well as just like the extended local area too, like the tri-state. There's a lot of Goki in the area, and I noticed that Goki was getting a lot more popular. It's a deck that I just didn't practice with, and I feel like you need to be really adequate with the combos to do well. So I just chose not to play that deck, and I stuck with what I believe was the best choice for me. But I made some modifications in my main deck and how I played Atlantic City to fit just what I believe the meta would be like at the national event. So first off, I cut Shared Ride overall from my main deck. I mained 2 at the event. I cut it for Infinite Impermanence. I felt like this card was a solid, okay enough across the board that it would be fair for nationals to play. And I was right. I played a lot of different decks, and Infinite Impermanence did kind of negate a lot of back row, which is really great. Another thing was I wanted to main deck a way to make Abyss Dweller. Abyss Dweller would be really strong against 2 things. First, the new BA deck that kind of just won the UK Nationals. And secondly, it would be really strong against Goki going first. Because sometimes when you open just like a traditional hand, you're like, alright, hopefully this Reincarnation gets me there or something. While if you have Abyss Dweller, then you could know you would survive the following turn. Also, I cut Widow Anchor and Gamma from my deck. So I think Gamma is one of those cards that if you ever resolve it, it's just a complete blowout where you're the card swing and that's like 3 cards or something. But there's times when your opponent starts playing around Gamma, and if you don't have Gamma in your hand, or your opponent starts playing around it, they're not playing optimally. But the worst part is when you do have Gamma in your hand and your opponent starts playing around it, it becomes a dead card completely. So I cut Gamma from my deck overall, and I put Called by the Grave in instead. Called the Grave was really good. I did play 2 Pure Sky Strikers in the Nationals or the World Championship Qualifier Tournament. Afterburner was really phenomenal. And chain summoning, the reason I put chain summoning in is for that Abyss Dweller rationale I told earlier. So the combo is, if you make chain summoning chain link 3 or higher, you can normal summon 3 Candinas that turn, and it just becomes, things start getting a little crazy. So if you go first, the god hand is Candina, Lycoris, chain summoning. So you go Candina chain link 1, Lycoris chain link 2, chain summoning chain link 3, and the end result is either triple Lycoris and a reincarnation set, or double Lycoris Candina with double reincarnation set. Both plays would end up making your opponent, for the double Lycoris double reincarnation, makes your opponent go down to 1600 life points after you resolve both if they don't have Ash in their first hand. So they only have 2 searches left before they lose, because each Lycoris burns for 400. Now if you do the other way, triple Lycoris 1 reincarnation, they end up at 56 life points. And then they only have 2 searches again because you have triple Lycoris on board. So both of these are really, really cool because it's essentially a game. No deck can win without searching unless you're playing Alter Guys and you're setting 5. So I gave the deck another auto win, but also chain summoning throughout the tournament, it either was the worst card in my entire deck or the only card that could possibly draw that would win me the game. And it was more the latter than the first, fortunately for me. I did lose some really specific rounds that gave me very poor tiebreakers. I ended up getting 66th place, sadly, missing top cut by 2 spots, and that was really, really unfortunate. So to mitigate chain summoning, the only way chain summoning is bad is when you don't open it with Candina. So if you don't open it with Candina, you're actually just drawing the other cards in their deck. Like, you're drawing things like Lily Bell, you're drawing like hand traps, drawing Lycoris. So I wanted to add more other cards in the deck that would kind of mitigate that, and I added in 1 Desires. Desires is one of those cards in this version of the deck, at least because of chain summoning and all, that where you don't want to draw multiple, or you will never want to resolve more than 1 of this card ever. I played the 2 reincarnation. I cut it down again because I want to resolve the chain summoning combos so frequently. It's something that I did cut down for just for this. And even chain summoning is really good going second because it allows you to kind of OTK through your opponent. If you have like chain summoning, Call by the Grave, Candina, you can form that chain link based on your opponent's cards too. Like summon Candina, they Ash, you chain Call by the Grave, chain summoning, and then that's really just game 2. And then once you do chain summoning, you can climb up the it's really easy to make the firewall combo. It gives you so many link summons. You can start throwing your reincarnations away, that way you can kind of get more value out of your normal summoning Candinas. And also if your opponent just have a blank board, it becomes like a lot of damage, including on their draw with Lycoris. So I really liked that I played chain summoning. It wasn't anything I tested for a long time. I just kind of threw it in like that Wednesday of, and I'm like, hey, this seems pretty cool, let me keep trying it. And then it just never got bad where I took it out of the deck and I kind of just like went with my gut and played it. I ended up getting 66th place, and that was really unfortunate. It was always next year. I really do hope to go to World someday, but I guess it won't be this year. So that's my deck, YouTube. Thank you.